Hey friends, so today we are going to be processing at least a few of these pumpkins. There is 2 pumpkins that the stem broke off, so I'm for sure gonna harvest these ones. We're gonna can them up, pressure can them today. And then the ones with the stems, we'll see if we get around to them. I would like to, but it takes a lot of time to pressure can pumpkin and then to cut through it and everything, because this has some really tough skin, tough flesh. So it's kind of hard to cut through. And then I also want to do some soups today. I want to make some probably ham hock soup in the crock pot and maybe enchilada soup in the Instant Pot. I have shared my enchilada soup recipe on this channel before, so you could go and find that. It is my favorite soup, I'd have to say. And then depending on how much extra time I have after that, I would also like to make some white chicken chili soup. And then with all of these soups, I plan to freeze most of it. I just freeze it in quart size jars in the freezer, and then I could just pull it out, defrost it when I want some soup, and then just serve it up. So that's kind of my game plan for today, and let's get started on some of these pumpkins. Also, I forgot to mention, I would like to also dehydrate some apples, or at least get started on some. I know it takes several hours to dehydrate apples, but I got this whole big bag of apples, both Golden Delicious and we're guessing Gala apples. There was someone that posted on Facebook Marketplace that they had a ton of apples on their apple tree, so anyone could come and pick them. So I went over and picked a big bag full so we can use them for dehydrating apples. I'd like to freeze some apples, obviously eat some apples fresh. I don't think we need any apple crisp this year. We still have about 12 quarts of apple crisp. Well, at least the apple pie filling to make apple crisp is what I should say. And then I got my dogs here joining me. I will show you Boomer and Annabelle. There's Boomer. And Annabelle. I got 3 on the vine, and then 2 on my porch. That one there, and that big one right there. Alright, I just looked in my freezer and we do not have any ham hock. I I thought we had one more, but we don't. So we're not gonna do ham hock soup. I'm probably gonna put the crock pot away and make it so I have a little bit more counter space. But let's get going on the pumpkins and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna set the stem pumpkins aside, the ones that stem still attached. All right, now we're gonna give these guys a good scrub in the sink. Make sure that we have all this dirt off of them so that when we cut into them, we're not making all of the flesh of the pumpkin all dirty. That barely even fits in my sink. That is a big pumpkin. By the way, if you didn't know, this kind of pumpkin is called a sweet meat pumpkin. I don't know if you can really see that, but that's the color of the pumpkin inside. And I'll show you when I actually get it cut open. But this is some really thick skin, tough skin that's hard to cut through. And the flesh is hard to cut through. So it definitely takes me a minute to get through this. And if you know of any tricks to make it easier, definitely let me know. We're getting close. There we go. All right. You see how like vibrant this flesh is? I really like the color of these pumpkins inside for my pumpkin that I preserve. This seed's a little discolored. Anyways, let me grab a bowl. I'm gonna scoop out all of the inside guts of this pumpkin, put it in a bowl, and we're gonna give it to the chickens later. Okay, so I got a few bowls out. Got this one for all of my actual pumpkin that I'm wanting to can up. Same with this bowl and this one. Trying to decide. Maybe I'm just gonna do this big bowl. That way I could kind of rinse the inside flesh just to make sure it is nice and clean before I can it. And then from here, I'll put it straight into the cans, and then we could pressure can it. So maybe I won't do these two bowls. And then this one will be for the chickens. All right, I'm gonna call that good. Let's get cutting. So my goal is to try to get this into 1-inch cubes as much as possible. Try to keep them pretty close to the same size. That way they'll can up a little bit nicer. So trying to figure out the best way to cut this into cubes. Remember, you want it? You may take it. Take it. Annabelle likes being right by my feet. Okay, I think I'm gonna call it here. I'm gonna rinse this pumpkin and then I'm gonna put it in my canning jars, get a load started in my pressure cooker because it takes several hours for one load to be done, and then we'll continue cutting. Got my ball canning book. I'm going to double check the recipe. So pumpkin or squash or winter squash, pressure canning. So it said to wash the pumpkin or squash, cut it in half, remove seeds, remove peel or rind, and cut flesh into 1-inch cubes. Do not mash or puree because it will not pressure can if you mash them or puree them. And then it wants me to go and put them in a pot, bring them to a boil for 2 minutes, and then bottle them up. I'm not going to do that because I don't see a point in that step personally. So I'm just going to put them in the jars as is, and then from there, I'm going to put them straight into the pressure canner. So it wants me to pack the pumpkin in the jars and then ladle in fresh boiling water. I'm just gonna do regular water. Pressure canner is gonna go and warm up all the jars as it's doing its warming process, and then I'll pressure can them. The nice thing that I have is an electric pressure canner. I got it from Bryce for Christmas, and so it makes it a lot easier to pressure can because I don't have to sit around and watch it. So here it says process pint jars for 55 minutes and quart jars for 90 minutes. I'm just gonna do pint jars, gonna pressure can them for 55 minutes, and then we'll continue from there. gonna fill them all with water. Okay, now I'm gonna debubble them. How I typically do it is I just kind of lightly tap on the counter. And then if I see some that I know I won't be able to get to, I'll take a knife and kind of go around the edge. I think this is looking pretty good. Now that they're all debubbled, I'm just going to go around the rim with a very lightly damp paper towel. Make sure everything's nice and clean along the rim, and then I'll go and put my lids on. All right. So I already got water in here. It says to add, I think, 3 quarts of water. There is a fill line that I just fill it to. It makes it a little bit easier. But I'm going to grab the jars and stick them in here. All right. So I can fit a total of 8 pints in here. So we're going to go ahead and get the lid on. I'm going to make sure the seal looks good. All in there nice and tight. And then I'm just going to hit pressure can, because you could also water bath can in this. Change it to 55 minutes. It says insert jars. And now it is warming up the jars. I'm going to make sure this is on vent. It's going to warm up the jars for at least 20 minutes. And then it will vent. And then from there, it should pressure can from after that. Alright, so it's been a few days since I started pressure canning my pumpkins. The first day I only did that really big one that I started with. It took a long time. My hands were hurting afterwards from cutting it up. I probably could use a better knife. I know my knife is old and not very sharp, and so I'm sure that would make a big difference. But like I said, it was huge. And then I did the second one that I washed that didn't have a stem yesterday. So I still have 3 more pumpkins I need to do at some point. But this is why I have gotten so far. I have gotten just under 2 dozen pints, and then I decided to switch to quarts just because it was so much pumpkin. I figured I better save my pint jars for doing tomatoes and other preservations. So I switched to quart jars, and I got just over 2 dozen quarts. So quite a bit of pumpkin. Like I said, I still have 3 more pumpkins. Not sure if I'm going to pressure can them all. Might just cut one up and give them to the chickens. We'll kind of see. But this is kind of what I have so far. I got a few more cans in the fridge that I do still need a pressure can. But like I said, it takes quite a while to pressure can. I could probably get 3 rounds in a day. But I'm glad you guys were able to join me for preserving some of my pumpkin. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.